Not all truth tellers get heard. In the Bryan Kohberger case, witness credibility could make or break the prosecution, and the DoorDash driver is a perfect example. But credibility isn't just a legal issue, it's personal. In this video, I'll break down how prosecutors assess trust, how it applies to your life, and a practical checklist to spot red flags before you get burned. Welcome to Revealing the Crime, where we explore true crime, manipulation tactics, and the psychology behind criminal behavior, especially cluster B traits. This channel is for discussion and education, not diagnosis. Viewer discretion is advised as some topics may be disturbing. Let's uncover the truth one case at a time. I want to start this video by going through this article that was published in the Daily Mail. It's titled DoorDash Driver Emerges as Surprise Idaho Murders Witness Who Could Doom Bryan Kohberger. The article begins by saying that there was a DoorDash driver who is expecting to testify at the upcoming Idaho murders trial that she saw Bryan Kohberger during a delivery on the night of the fatal stabbings. And interestingly, true crime sleuths picked up on the video, and the woman's connection to the Kohberger case was reported in the Idaho Statesman on Tuesday. Her name has been redacted from court documents. The woman's credibility as a witness is likely to be called into question because Pullman PD accused her of driving while under the influence of drugs. The unidentified 44-year-old woman told police during a traffic stop last year that she delivered food to Xana Kernodle at 1122 King Road in Moscow, Idaho, in the early hours of November 13, 2022. She uttered the words, "I saw Bryan there," to officers, adding that she parked right next to him. The perpetrated delivery is alleged to have taken place just minutes before Kernodle, her boyfriend Ethan Chafin, and two roommates, Kaylee Consalves and Maddie Mogan, were all stabbed to death by a masked assailant. The woman also told an officer with the Pullman Police Department that she may be called to the stand to testify at Kohberger's trial, according to body cam video of the conversation posted to YouTube. Before we go further, I'm going to show you that video.
Because I'm the DoorDash driver, so yeah.
You have to testify in which murder case?
Murder case called Courtroom.
Oh.
I'm the DoorDash driver, I saw Bryan there.
The clip is hard to watch. You feel like this woman, I don't know, like she has the weight of the world on her shoulders. That's what I get from it. Let me know what your thoughts are on watching that video clip. This article then goes into what the DoorDash driver said in that video we just watched. And it says, "I have to testify in a big murder case here because I'm the DoorDash driver. So yeah." The woman says in the clip as she's being questioned over a suspected DUI in September 2024. When asked what case, she responds, "The murder case with the college girls. I saw Bryan there. I parked right next to him." The article then tells us the outcome of this DUI case. It's not clear. The woman initially pulled over for driving a pickup truck with expired registration tags. Court records show that Kernodle received a DoorDash order at approximately 4 a.m. on November 13, and the order was from Jack in the Box. Prosecutors have stated they believe the murders of the Idaho Four took place during a 13-minute window from 4:07 and 4:20 a.m. That's when surveillance footage captured what police allege was a white Hyundai Elantra in the home's vicinity, matching the description of a vehicle owned by Kohberger. The unnamed woman's account of delivering DoorDash to Kernodle matches the chain of events shared in recent court filings. One of the big things that jumped out at me in this article was this issue of credibility. In other places reading about this witness, we know for sure there was a DUI arrest. We've seen that here in the footage. We don't know what the outcome was of the case, and there may be a drug use history. In high-profile trials, prosecutors must make cold calculations. Even if a witness knows everything, if they can't be trusted on the stand, they'll never be called. A courtroom isn't just about truth, it's about who can survive cross-examination. And this is where I want to get into this idea of being too risky to testify. As I was reading this, I immediately drew connection to an O.J. Simpson video I did recently about this witness, Jill Shively. Shively says she left her Santa Monica apartment before 11 p.m. to drive to the Westward Ho Market in nearby Brentwood, trying to get there before it closed. Driving east on San Vicente Boulevard toward Bundy Drive, less than a half a mile from where Nicole Brown Simpson and Ron Goldman had been murdered, Shively nearly struck a white Bronco with no headlights on, which had driven into the median in order to avoid hitting another car in the intersection. I could see who it was, and I knew it was a football player, but I wasn't sure who, Shively, now 63, says. He was yelling at another driver, "Move, move." I recognized his voice because I had just seen a Naked Gun movie. It was O.J. Simpson. But Shively's testimony, which could have put Simpson near the scene around the time of the murders, was never heard in court. Shively, who was raising her young daughter at the time, sold her story to the tabloid show Hard Copy. As a result, Marcia Clark, the lead prosecutor on the case, shied away from calling Shively as a witness. Marcia thought that tainted any testimony she might provide. Former prosecutor Chris Darden, Clark's co-counsel on the case, says in American Manhunt. Just as an aside, American Manhunt is a documentary that is on Netflix. I haven't had a chance to finish it yet, but if you're interested in finding out more about this, you can see it on Netflix. So the biggest issue with Jill Shively is her selling her story to the tabloids. This immediately destroys her credibility, and it would have made her look like she was in it for money and not for justice. The defense could have turned her into a spectacle, undermining the prosecution's whole case. Once a witness gets paid, they're no longer a witness, they're a liability. So, what are some reasons that prosecutors may choose not to put someone on the stand? It could be someone that is too close to the crime, they're telling inconsistent stories. There could be criminal exposure, meaning that they could plead the fifth. They may be deemed emotionally vulnerable, or they took money or sought public attention. So, whether it's a DoorDash driver in Idaho or a witness on Bundy Drive, one thing's clear: prosecutors aren't just looking for the truth. They're looking for someone who can hold up under fire, and some stories are just too fragile to survive the witness stand. In real life, just like in court, credibility isn't about volume, it's about consistency, motives, and truth. I'm now going to give you 5 ways that you can recognize a lack of credibility, and also 5 ways to protect yourself from misplaced trust. The first way to recognize a lack of credibility is inconsistent stories. So, this is someone whose stories and the details shift over time or change based on who's listening. For example, one week they could say that their ex was emotionally abusive. The next, they say the breakup was mutual and peaceful, but only when talking to someone new that they're trying to impress. So ask yourself, when you're in these type of situations, are they rewriting the past to suit the present? The next is an overemphasis on emotion and a lack of facts. They rely heavily on pity, outrage, or charm, but can't back it up with anything solid. They may sob while telling you how they were betrayed at work, but can't explain what actually happened or why their version contradicts HR reports. In these situations, ask yourself, are they avoiding specifics or redirecting when challenged? The third is that they're always the victim and never accountable. Every story centers on how others wronged them, never their own role. They've cut off 3 family members in 1 year, but in every version, it's always the other person's fault. Never once do they reflect on their own behavior. Ask yourself, have they ever admitted fault, or is it always someone else's fault? The fourth is they contradict reliable sources. Their version of events clashes with evidence, witnesses, or timelines. For example, they say they were home all night during an incident, but 3 people saw them at the bar and there are tagged photos to prove it. To test this, ask yourself who else's account supports or contradicts their story. And finally, there are manipulative behavioral patterns. They pressure you to pick sides, rush you into judgment, or guilt you for questioning them. If you really cared about me, you wouldn't need to hear the other side, is something that they would say. Ask yourself, do I feel emotionally coerced into believing them? And now here are 5 ways to protect yourself from misplaced trust. The first is look for patterns, not performance. They may cry on command or seem incredibly sincere, but if the same chaos follows them from job to job or relationship to relationship, the pattern matters more than the performance. Cross reference the facts. If someone says they were fired for no reason, but the company cited a clear policy violation and others confirm it, believe the documented facts and not just the drama. Number 3, pause before reacting. You hear a story that instantly makes you angry on someone's behalf. Instead of jumping in, you say, "That's awful. I want to understand more before I take sides." Number 4, ask clarifying questions. For example, "Can you help me understand what happened next?" If they get defensive or say, "I shouldn't have to explain myself," that's a red flag. And finally, notice how they treat others. If they tear down a former best friend to build a connection with you, just wait. When you're no longer useful, they'll do the same to you. The final takeaway for this video is before you hand someone credibility, ask yourself, would their story survive cross-examination? If you enjoyed this video and you're looking for a meaningful way to support something beyond the screen, I'd love for you to consider making a donation to the National Domestic Violence Hotline in lieu of super chats and super stickers. They provide 24/7 support and resources for people in unsafe or overwhelming situations, whether physical, emotional, or just hard to name. Their information is on the screen should you need to contact them, and you'll find a link to donate in the description. Every little bit helps and it means a lot. I'm interested to know what you thought about all this. Please drop your thoughts in the comments. If this was interesting to you, please like and subscribe. Hit that notification bell so you'll know every time I drop a new video. I want to thank you so much for listening, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye, everybody.